Thanks for listening to STEM Factually. I'm Dr. Marissa Civic, and this is another STEM Stacks episode. This is an undergraduate Q&A session about research. It's geared towards parents of undergraduate students or undergraduate students directly who have questions about the undergraduate research process. When I was a professor, I got a lot of questions about research from undergraduates. How to join a group, how to choose a group, where to start, what is undergraduate research. This episode will cover that briefly. So let's dive right in. Question 1, what is undergraduate research? So undergraduate research is a hands-on research experience where you join a research group that produces publishable data, and you get a project yourself, and you get to research as well. It really depends on the group, the format of this. Some groups put a full-blown project on the hands of an undergrad. Some of them have them shadow grads or other undergraduates in the group, and they have a much more hands-off approach to development of projects. The groups that I've been in actually gave undergraduates very large projects that were graduate level, and they contributed at their experience level and grew quite well within the group. It really depends on what the advisor's goals are for research. So that's something to think about when you choose a group. What are you looking for out of undergraduate research? You get to present your progress at group meetings. You conduct experiments. You meet with your faculty member, other grads in the group. Sometimes undergraduates get to go to conferences. And if you're a major in STEM, they often require an undergraduate thesis, which is not as scary as it seems. It's basically a very long lab report that's written in thesis format. And you would be given guidance and instruction on how to do all these things. So it is independent in terms of experience. The schedule is very independent and flexible, and it works with your courses. But you also are given guidance, and there's a lot of camaraderie in a research group. So why do it? Research is a great experience for developing technical skills, presentation skills, communication skills. You can gain leadership skills through mentoring other undergraduates or training new individuals on different instrumental or experimental techniques that you've become an expert in. It's great for so many different things. It also really cements the concepts that you learn in class if you're applying them to a real world scenario. The best way to learn is by getting into a lab and applying all the things you learned in class to a complex system. It's very intellectually stimulating and enjoyable. It's a unique way to do STEM. And most of the undergraduates that I've known who were in research really loved research once they got a handle. It can be a bit of a learning curve at first, but if you just tell yourself that you'll be okay, it just takes time like anything else, and you can get past that initial hurdle, most undergraduates really enjoy research, and it becomes one of the highlights of their undergraduate experience. It's also great for camaraderie. When you're in a group, you kind of have a group of friends and colleagues that are there to support you through the research process. Groups will, study together or hang out after hours. And it's just a nice way to kind of get a small circle of people that you know that are all doing the same thing as you, when it can be kind of hard to make friends when you're studying so hard and focused on courses. So research is a nice place. You typically share an office with other undergraduates, sometimes graduates as well, and it's just a nice experience. It's also great for networking. When you are in a research group, you basically automatically have a strong reference letter from the advisor of the group, which is excellent for when you apply to scholarships or graduate school, or if there's internal opportunities, they can provide a reference for that as well. So it's good for professional networking. And it's great if you do plan to go to graduate school or do immediately apply to careers in STEM. that would apply some of the technical skills that you'd learn in research, it's really great for that because you're getting hands-on experience that's documented with a strong reference letter if you do a good job at it. And then what's also really important is it teaches you critical thinking and troubleshooting skills that you wouldn't learn anywhere else. It's kind of a unique perspective that's required for research, and it's just beneficial for any aspect of your career, education, or your life. I use my skills that I've picked up from research constantly, daily, in my thought processes, my efficiency doing tasks. It's just a really great experience, and it comes with many different benefits. So once you decide that undergraduate research is for you, or perhaps it's required for your major, one of the biggest questions is, how do I pick a research group? I don't know who these faculty are. I don't know what they do. You could be a freshman or a sophomore potentially looking into research, and you haven't had a lot of chemistry courses yet. Chemistry. I'm a chemist, so I automatically think chemistry. But you haven't had a lot of courses within your major yet that you'd be doing research in. So it's kind of tricky and quite a daunting task at first to pick a group. But once you get into it, it's not as complicated as it seems. First, you just browse faculty in your major or similar majors. Go through the university websites and pull up the faculty from your major or a similar major. For chemistry, there were chemistry majors that were in material science or biomedical engineering, chemical engineering, something that's similar to what you do. And you can be any major in a research group. Typically, some faculty stick with majors from their group. So it's something you have to look at their groups and see if they accept or not. So again, browse the faculty, go to their group pages. Typically, faculty have a profile page that's on the university website. And then if it's a larger school and their research is quite active, they would have a group page as well. So you would just search their name in a web browser, and it would pull up, and maybe put research next to it, and it'll pull up their research group page. They're also sometimes linked from their profile page on the university's website, depending upon how far along the university's website actually is. So go to their group pages. They'll have group members, research topics. They most of the time will summarize their research in a way on the front page that's pretty tangible, understandable for most audiences. So that's a great place to start. Read their little research summary, see if it's something that sparks your interest. You don't have to understand it. Just try to see if it's something that interests you and excites you. Then explore further into their individual project pages or their publication pages, or both. And then start to see if there's papers that focus on some of the projects. That's what you're trying to do. Then you would want to settle down on one or two potential faculty member options. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Groups don't always accept undergraduates every year. Undergraduate research can be quite competitive. So your goal is to have a few options that you're interested in, and then tier them and email the faculty in the order of interest. So when you do that, you would want to read their publications, prepare. Again, you won't understand everything, and they don't expect you to, but you want to show the faculty member that your interest is actually supported by some effort that you've put into this interest. You didn't just pick a random faculty member. You looked at their research. You read a paper. You've got a printout of the paper, or it's on your computer, and you're scanning it periodically, and you are picking up some of the terms. You'll understand them when they talk about the project to you when you finally meet with them. So do your work, do your research, and prepare, and show that you're a good candidate for their group because you're willing to put in a little work for the interview. So a question that's relevant to choosing a group is, do I want a big group or a small group? Big groups and small groups vary substantially in the amount of hands-on attention from the faculty advisor. In a very large group, you could have the faculty advisor, and then he or she is managing research assistants who have PhDs, and they manage and work with postdocs who also have PhDs, and then they work with and mentor, advise graduate students who are obtaining their PhDs. And then at the bottom of the tier would be the undergraduates, who would then be guided by the graduate students or senior undergraduate students. So a very big group like that, you're not getting a lot of interaction with the faculty advisor, but you are getting a very large group that's networked and usually a pretty well-oiled machine if it's a large group. Large groups typically have funding to support multiple types of projects. They tend to publish quickly, so there's a chance you could get on a publication, which is excellent for graduate school scholarships. It's also an enriching experience to publish a paper as an undergraduate and get to contribute to the scientific community. So big groups have benefits. Small groups, you're looking at a more mentored experience. So on paper, you may not be publishing as quickly. You may not be on very large grants, but you're getting one-on-one meetings and group meetings with the faculty advisor who is experienced in guiding you through the process. Your graduate students would have better interactions with the faculty advisor as well. So everyone's being mentored and guided by a faculty advisor who is an expert in the research project. And you get more of a behind the scenes look when you're in a smaller group versus a larger group. It really just depends on what you're interested in and what you would like as a researcher. I enjoy smaller groups because I enjoy having the interaction with the faculty it's called a PI, the primary investigator, but the faculty member that runs the group, the professor. I enjoyed that, and I also enjoyed the dynamic of a smaller group. I liked that everyone was very accessible and had some time to come and help me learn new techniques. I could shadow different people, but the smaller groups do not publish as quickly, so you tend to not have, a bunch of papers as an undergraduate. Not the big groups do either sometimes. It really just depends. A good way to tell is, talk to undergraduates in the group, figure out their experiences, look at their pages, and then, figure out what your best interest is and what you want out of a research group, and then make a pros and cons list and choose from that. Another good thing to look at when you're choosing a group is where do the undergraduates that were in the group end up once they graduate from the program. So once they've gotten their bachelor's degrees in their majors, did they end up at prestigious schools? Did they end up in careers? Did they disappear? Those aren't always strong indicators that a faculty group is good or the right fit or not for you. But if every undergraduate ended up in a prestigious program or a strong career, then there's a good chance that the faculty member is a good networker. So it might be useful to factor that in as well. It really depends. Are you trying to get networking, publications? What are you trying to get out of this experience? Or are you looking to really expand your skill set and understanding of your field, how to approach research, and get more hands-on experience and training from a faculty advisor? So that's kind of the bigger small group again. All right, so you picked a group. You've found a faculty member or 2 or 3 of them. What do you do now? So first, you email the professor. You just email them. It's that simple. You find their email on their profile page and you type up a brief professional email. You ask them, you let them know that you're interested in undergraduate research. You've explored their page. You find their research interesting and engaging because of this XYZ, something simple and basic that is from their group's papers. Then you ask if they have openings or not. You can mention the project that interests you or why you'd like to work on it, but the goal here is to keep the email brief so that it gets read quickly and responded to. If you write a book, the faculty member may save it for later and not have time to read it or reply, or they may just not read it at all. So keep it brief. They're just busy. Keep it brief. They'll read it, but show that you're interested and invested and you're not just emailing every member of the department. Be patient. If you don't hear back from the faculty member, it is acceptable professionally to email them again. You can forward them the previous email with a polite reminder sentence or two, and don't do that the next day. I would typically give faculty a week to respond. If you don't hear back from them in a week, they may just have not seen your email. They may have missed it, or they may not have openings and they just don't email back. I would email back one time. If I don't hear from them after that second follow-up, or after the first follow-up, second email, I would not email them again. You could ask maybe an undergrad in the group or something if they're accepting, but if you're not hearing back from the faculty member, chances are they're not accepting, and you should start talking to your number 2 option. Let's see. If they do email, they would be setting up an appointment to meet with you. It's an interview, but it is an informal one. It's not like a job interview. You would want to be professional and show up to that meeting on time. If you're unable to attend, you don't just blow it off. You send them a professional email telling them that you have another obligation that's course related or whatever, and that you would like to reschedule if possible, and apologize for the inconvenience. Be professional. Professors are very busy, and if you're meeting with a grad or a research assistant or a postdoc, they're all very busy too, and they took time out of their day to schedule an appointment with you. And it's not a big deal if you can't make it, but give them some notice so that they're not sitting waiting for you and readjusting their schedule when you're not planning to show up. If you do make it to the interview, you would want to ask valid questions that are relevant to the research, any questions you have about how the group functions, and you want to be professional, show interest, be enthusiastic. And then something that for some reason a lot of students don't tend to think to do, bring a notepad and take notes. You'll be getting a lot of information from the faculty member or whoever you end up meeting with, and it's very memorable when a student actually notates throughout the meeting. It is just very professional and respectful of the faculty member that's giving you their time to discuss the research, and it makes the faculty member more invested in talking with you if they know you're not going to immediately walk out the door and forget everything they just said to you. So it's a good way to stand out, and it's useful for you because you can refer back to the notes later. So you get into a group. Now what? So first, typically it's a little bit of a slow build-up. You will be introduced to the group members, the grads, all that, usually at a group meeting. Oh, that's something I should have mentioned before. You can ask the faculty member if you can attend group meetings. Group meetings are usually once a week, and it's where the entire group gets together and they discuss research, and someone does a research presentation, or they'll focus on a literature presentation that's relevant to the research, and they get feedback from their peers. They all talk about future directions. It's just a good experience and a great way to see how a research group functions. And they're typically open. They're not, highly protected. Anyone can attend a group meeting, but it's usually just the group. But if you're a rotating student, it's a great way to get hands-on experience with what the group's like and what their dynamic is in a group meeting. You would want to ask the group, the professor, the advisor, if it was okay if you went. And if they said yes, then attend a group meeting and get that idea of what it's like. All right, back to I got into a group, now what? So you would be introduced to the group members. That would typically happen during a group meeting because everyone's in the same place. The faculty member typically assigns new undergraduates to a graduate student or a senior undergraduate in the group, and they would train you on new techniques. You would shadow them while they do their experiments, and you would learn how the group runs, how to document your research. All that would be done through shadowing. Once you're accustomed to the group, you would during the process of being accustomed to the group, you should utilize the time to really take notes, read literature that's relevant to what the group does, and accustom yourself to their practices and acronyms. One of the things that can be really daunting when you first join a group is there's so many acronyms. So start jotting down acronyms and don't be afraid to ask. Say, oh, I don't know what that means. Can you just tell me quickly and I'll write it down? Stop, ask questions. There are no dumb questions. So ask questions, write them down, and review those notes. Come to research 5-10 minutes early from your scheduled time and read your notes from last week or the week before, and then it'll stick with you quickly. Once you're accustomed to the group, you'll start being given responsibilities to do on your own, and that can be daunting as well. But what's really important is that, be confident, but don't be cocky. If you don't know how to do something, ask a graduate student, hey, I know you've showed me how to do this several times, but I would like you to you shadow me while I do it and catch me if I make a mistake. I'm uncomfortable using this instrument alone. Would you mind shadowing me? Can we schedule a time for us to do it together one more time? And that's no big deal. It's better to have support through the process than it is to break a potentially $1 million instrument. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask for help again. When you're learning, it just is what it is and it's expected. So your goal is to really pick up the research mindset. It's not a set number of hours each week. It's a set minimum. You're typically signed up for research credits, and sometimes undergraduates in my group would think, oh, I've signed up for 1 credit. That means I only have to do, 1 to 3 hours of research a week, and that's it. No, the 1 credit is just for, bookkeeping. You can show up to research as often as you want. I had undergraduates that would do 20 hours a week of research just because they really enjoyed their projects and being a part of the group. They would come to their office and they would do their homework, and then they would watch an experiment while they were doing that. So it's a different mindset than courses. It's not show up to your class, listen to the lecture, go home, do the homework, pass the test. That's not how research is. Research is professional development. It's educational. You're trying to really develop your just tons of skills. So the goal is to invest a good amount of time into it each week, not just the minimum. And some weeks it'll vary greatly. Some weeks you may have a 10-hour experiment to run, so you're there one day for several hours and you're tag teaming with another undergraduate while you go to courses. And then other weeks you may just have all your finals this week and you get no research done, and that's okay. The goal is to communicate with your group and let them know what's going on. All right, so here's another question I got sometimes. I don't know what to do when I'm in lab. I don't know where to start. I walk in, I have no clue. So the goal is that you're working with whoever you were shadowing. They're the person you go to. If it's a grad student, send them an email ahead of time or text them or whatever, asking them to help you come up with a plan of what to do when you're in lab next, or ask what they were thinking about. If you've been assigned to a graduate student or a senior undergrad, they're typically thinking in their head about what they would have you do the next time you're in lab. So getting a heads up and preparing yourself mentally is kind of helpful. If you do go and the grad is busy or you haven't talked about what you were supposed to do, you can tidy your work area, help, with tasks around the lab that other people need to help with. You can read research articles relevant to your project and relate it back to your work. Start coming up with ideas. A good thing to do is read the group's papers. It's important to familiarize yourself with everyone's research. And then you can ask really good questions when you're in group meeting and show an interest in everyone's work, and you'll learn from that experience. You can document experiments. So let's say your grad said you're going to do this particular procedure from this publication, and we're going to do it, Tuesday, but today's Monday, and you have some time in lab. Start doing notating in your lab notebook what the procedure is, cite the paper that it came from, read through the procedure. You could pull out some of the equipment or glassware or whatever's needed for the procedure. So start preparing so that the time with your mentor is well utilized. What else? Something that's good too that I used to do was anytime I got data that was very good quality data and it showed a trend or something like that, or even if it didn't, I would make templates where I could just paste that data into the template and then it would make a publication quality figure. So if you start recording all of your data in publication quality figures and tables, then it's really nice when you go to do a group meeting presentation or if you go to a conference or publish, all of your data is in a nice, neat format, ready to just copy paste into whatever document you're preparing. So I always recommend working up your data. If you don't have anything to do today, but you have 4 hours in lab, look at all the data that you've collected, get it into really nice figures, and save them in a safe place wherever your group saves their data. And another thing you can do too is work on PowerPoints for group meeting. You can make PowerPoint animations that are relevant to the work or figures, all different kinds of things. So those are busy work that you can do that's actually productive and takes a long time. So it's nice if you have to do a group meeting and you've already got a library of figures you can choose from to just throw into a PowerPoint. So here's some tips as well. Take initiative and suggest ideas for different directions that you could take your research and support them with scientific literature. It's really a great skill to learn is how to propose new directions. If you're running into problems with an experiment, propose ideas or other things that you could do, and then find literature that supports that. That's a great experience and skill set to pick up while you're doing research. You could ask your faculty member or whoever you're shadowing if you could learn new techniques and instrumentation. If you know someone on the other project is going to go use a different instrument, ask if you can shadow them and just learn about what they're doing. That's a neat way to pick up extra skills. Whenever you learn a new skill or technique, record it on your CV, your curriculum vitae, or your resume, whatever you use. Record it or LinkedIn, whatever. Record it somewhere where it's documented so that you can refer back to what you've learned. You will eventually forget all the skills you've learned, all the instruments you've used, the specific techniques you've learned. You want to record all those so that you can refer back when you're writing papers for applications for grad school and things like that, or jobs. Keep an eye out for local conferences. Different divisions of STEM have their own groups. Like there's chemistry societies, there's physics societies, there's engineering societies, and they tend to have local chapters. They often have very small conferences that are driving distance or sometimes even at your own university. those are a great way to present your research. Never apply to go to a conference without talking to the research advisor first. That is the person that you want to ask about it, but you can always bring opportunities to them and say, hey, I saw that this society's meeting in our city, in 6 months. Can I apply to present as an undergraduate what I've been working on? That typically happens after you've been in the group like a year plus, because you want to have enough to talk about. But something that you can keep out and be proactive about, because conference experience is great experience to put on your resume. And I also, going to conferences was one of my favorite parts of grad school, because it gives you a chance to present your research in a way that's to a different audience than your group. They aren't familiar with what you do, so you have to learn new ways to break it down and explain it and relate it to them in their field. And you also get interesting and diverse perspectives on your work that you wouldn't get where everyone knows what you're doing. So it's a great experience. Communicate with your research advisor and with whoever you're shadowing, the graduate student or the senior undergraduate. Tell them if you're really busy and you need more time to study. Don't just ghost the lab. Make sure you tell them that you are busy and you'd like to keep working on the project, but this week I'm swamped with courses. Courses are your priority, right? So they know that and they should respect that. But you need to communicate with them. Ask about summer research opportunities if that's something that you're interested in, if you're available in the area. And then also be respectful. Be kind to the people that you're working with and be respectful. Be confident, but don't be rude or put other people down. Be the researcher that you would want to work with and help the group succeed, because you're part of a team and it's not a competition. Everyone's supposed to be working together. So support your team and you will get support in return. And it can be a great experience for everyone involved. The fact that you're in the group. All right, so that was pretty much all I could think of for the first episode. Thank you for listening. If you are an undergraduate or a parent of an undergraduate and you have more questions, you can contact me on social media or my website. All those links are available on the profile page for Spotify. And I will make another episode with more Q&As, or I'll answer you directly, depending upon the way that you contact me. If you're interested in more mentoring through the process, or you'd like to reach out, I also have a Patreon, and you could become a patron as an undergraduate, and you can chat with other undergraduates that are patrons, or reach out to me and ask questions specifically. I'm pretty active on Discord, and I plan to invest some time in answering questions every day. So if you're looking for a little extra support or have extra questions, that's always a great way to reach me. Thank you again. Please tune in for the next episode, and good luck with your research experience.